At 76 years old, Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle finally speaks out about what many people have quietly believed for years. With gentle honesty and deep humility, he admits something that has been clear to those who've watched his journey closely, that his life has never been about power, but about quiet service, love, and preparing for something bigger. For years, many in the Catholic world have whispered the same thought. Could Tagle be the next pope? Could this kind, humble man from the Philippines lead the world's 1.3 billion Catholics into a new and more compassionate future? Tagle has never claimed that goal, but today, as he reflects on his life and all he has experienced, he finally opens his heart. It all began in a small town in the Philippines. In 1982, a young man named Luis Antonio Tagle first stepped into the courtyard of San Agustin Parish in Cavite. He was just starting his work as a priest, holding nothing but a Bible and a strong desire to serve. No one could have imagined that this simple priest would one day stand among the most powerful voices in the Vatican. He was different from the beginning. Instead of enjoying comforts, he gave them up. Instead of speaking loudly, he listened carefully. Instead of seeking fame, he stayed close to the poor. He often walked to visit people, helped them with food, and made sure they felt seen and heard. These weren't big gestures meant for the cameras. They were real moments of love and service. Start by 1983. Just a year after his ordination, he became director of the seminary in Imus. That rise was fast, unusually fast, but it happened because people noticed something special in him. He had a deep understanding of faith, but more importantly, he knew how to connect that faith to real life. Even in the early days, he was already shaping lives, one heart at a time. In 1997, the Vatican saw his potential. Pope John Paul II chose him for the International Theological Commission, placing him under the guidance of Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger, who would later become Pope Benedict XVI. Tagle stood out, not by arguing but by understanding others. He listened, and people felt heard. That rare gift of empathy became his most powerful tool. In 2001, when he became Bishop of Imus, he again surprised many. He chose to live simply, no fancy car, no special meals. He even swept the church steps himself. He believed that real leadership comes from humility, not position. And when floods hit Cavite in 2009, he didn't stay behind in safety. He joined volunteers, walking through waist-deep water, helping those in need. Then came 2011. Tagle was appointed Archbishop of Manila, a very big role in the Philippines. The church was facing criticism, especially from young people who felt distant from faith. But Tagle didn't hide. He used social media, gave honest talks, and met with people from all walks of life. He helped the church become close to the people again. In 2012, he became a cardinal at just 55 years old. That was young for such a role, but it wasn't his age that made headlines, it was his tears. During the ceremony in Rome, Tagle cried openly and without shame. For many, that simple act was powerful. It showed a deep love for his faith, and reminded everyone that strength can also be soft. By 2019, Pope Francis brought him to Rome to lead one of the most important departments in the Vatican, the Congregation for the Evangelization of Peoples. This role allowed him to shape missionary work across Asia and Africa. In 2020, he was promoted again, becoming a cardinal bishop, the highest rank a cardinal can have. He broke centuries of tradition by becoming the first Filipino, and one of very few non-Europeans to hold such a position. His influence grew quietly. He worked on church finances, promoted transparency, and helped the Vatican operate more honestly. He once said, "The faithful deserve to know how their donations serve God's work." That simple line pushed big changes in how the church handled money. He also helped Caritas International during major crises like the earthquake in Haiti and the war in Syria, turning the group into a modern force for good. In 2024, France gave him the Legion of Honor for his work. But true to his style, Tagle gave the credit to others. "This honor belongs to countless hands that serve the poor," he said. He also spoke at the National Eucharistic Congress in the US, where over 50,000 people gathered. His words touched people deeply, even non-Catholics, because he made ancient teachings feel real and human. What makes Tagle truly different is how he breaks barriers. He brings the voice of Asia into a church long dominated by Europe. His ability to speak to both Western and Eastern cultures helps him connect with people across the world. Jewish, Muslim, and even secular leaders respect him for his open-minded and kind way of speaking. Despite his high position, he never forgets where he came from. He still remembers the names of Vatican gardeners. His office door is always open, and he still makes time to talk with ordinary people. In Manila, stories of his humility are everywhere. One street vendor once said, "He sat beside me on a jeep, asked about my family, and smiled. I didn't believe it was really him." Tagle's views on controversial issues also show his unique approach. He supports Catholic teachings but talks with compassion. On LGBTQ+ issues and divorced Catholics, he says, "Before we speak of sin, we must speak of human dignity. Before we point fingers, we must extend hands." His words are calm but powerful. He's also a strong advocate for caring for the environment. In Manila, he helped start tree planting drives and community gardens, tying action to faith. On social media, he connects with people in simple ways. He turns complex church ideas into short, clear messages. Sometimes, he even replies to followers. Late into the night, when COVID-19 hit in 2020, Tagle caught the virus. He shared his journey openly. Many found hope in his recovery, and his honesty helped people feel less alone. He reminded the world that faith can bring comfort even in dark times. His dedication to interfaith dialogue is another part of his legacy. At a time when many religions are in conflict, Tagle seeks understanding. He doesn't argue, he listens. He looks for what brings people together, not what drives them apart. That's why so many people, even from other faiths, admire him. Through all of this, he stayed deeply rooted in one truth. Leadership means service. Whether he's talking to scholars or janitors, his message is the same: love, compassion, and honesty. He doesn't try to change church teachings. Instead, he changes how those teachings are lived and understood. Tagle's TV show, The Word Exposed, brought his messages into millions of homes. He didn't use big words. He spoke like a friend, explaining difficult topics with warmth and care. His talks were personal, real, and full of emotion. When he speaks about the Eucharist, he doesn't just explain, he shares from the heart. People have cried during his speeches, not because they're sad, but because they feel something real. He brings God's love close to everyday life. That's why people believe in him, not just as a priest or a cardinal, but as a leader who makes them feel seen. Tagle doesn't lead with power, he leads with kindness now. At 76, he finally admits what we've all suspected, that his life has been a quiet preparation, not for fame, not for glory, but to be ready if God calls him to lead the church in a new direction, a direction full of warmth, honesty, and hope. He doesn't say he wants to be pope, he never has, but in a world that's hungry for trust, for love, and for leadership that listens, many people see Tagle as the answer to those prayers. In his own words, the church must change with the times, not in its truth, but in how we share that truth with the world. That simple message may be the key to the future, because what Cardinal Tagle represents isn't just leadership. It's a reminder that the church can be strong and gentle, that it can hold tradition and also open its arms to the modern world. And as millions look to the Vatican for what's next, many hearts quietly hope that this humble man from the Philippines, who never asked for power, might be the one to guide us into a brighter future. Because now, after all these years, at 76, Luis Antonio Tagle has finally admitted that the truth we've all seen from the start. He was never chasing the papacy. He was being prepared for it. As people around the world reflect on Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle's journey, one thing becomes clear: he has touched lives, not just with words, but with action. His way of leading is quiet, but powerful. He doesn't need grand speeches to inspire change. His smile, his listening ear, and his genuine care are what move people most. Universities across the world have honored him with degrees. These awards don't just celebrate his intelligence, but also his kindness and his work for peace and unity. Whether it's in America, Europe, or Asia, schools and scholars respect him as both a thinker and a doer. But when asked about these honors, Tagle often laughs and says they belong to the people he serves. That's how humble he is. One of the most touching moments in recent years came during a meeting with young people. A girl stood up and asked, "Cardinal, how can we bring hope when there is so much pain in the world?" Tagle didn't rush to answer. He paused, then gently said, "By being hope. By choosing to love even when it's hard." The room was silent. Many were moved to tears. That is his gift, turning simple words into deep truths. He's not afraid to speak hard truths either. During a debate in the Vatican about wealth in the church, he said boldly, "We cannot preach poverty while living in luxury." Some officials were uncomfortable, but Tagle didn't back down. He believes that the church must lead by example. His courage reminds us that love sometimes means telling the truth, even when it's difficult. In his homeland, the Philippines, he remains a beloved figure. Street vendors, jeepney drivers, and poor families still tell stories of him walking with them, sitting beside them, and treating them as equals. One family recalled how he visited them after their house burned down. He came without cameras. He prayed with us. He brought food. He stayed. He listened, the father said. He didn't act like a cardinal. He acted like family. In Rome, Tagle continues to live simply. His home is modest. He avoids luxury. He cooks his own meals when he can and often walks through Vatican gardens just to greet staff and workers. People admire him not for his power, but for his humility. One Vatican janitor said, "He knows my name. He asks about my children." That means more than any sermon. Cardinal Tagle also believes deeply in the power of technology. Through Facebook Live, YouTube, and his TV program The Word Exposed, he reaches people far beyond church walls. He knows that many young people today are looking for meaning online, so he goes to where they are. His videos are not flashy. They are simple, warm, and real, just like him. And in each message he brings light. Light for the poor, for the lonely, for the confused. He tells people that God is not far away, that faith is not about fear, but about love. His teachings aren't full of heavy rules. They are full of mercy, of hope, and of encouragement. He is also a strong voice for justice. When violence breaks, when the poor are forgotten, or when people are treated unfairly, Tagle speaks up. He believes that faith must not stay inside church buildings. It must walk on the streets. It must feed the hungry, protect the weak, and comfort the brokenhearted. For him, religion is not just prayer, it's action. Many call him the Asian Francis, a reference to Pope Francis, who also leads with humility and love. But Tagle is not a copy of anyone. He is his own person, shaped by his culture, his experiences, and his deep connection with God. He brings something fresh, an Asian heart, a global mind, and a spirit filled with compassion. Tagle's childhood also shaped who he became. Born on June 21, 1957, in Manila, he was nicknamed Sheto by his family. He came from a mix of Tagalog and Chinese-Filipino roots. His family wasn't rich, but they were filled with faith and love. His grandfather was wounded during World War II, and his grandmother ran a small eatery to support the family. Those early lessons in sacrifice and service stayed with him forever. As a boy, he dreamed of becoming a doctor. He wanted to heal people. In a way, he still does, not with medicine but with kindness and faith. That calling led him to become a priest. He studied hard, went to top schools, and even impressed scholars in America with his theological work. He speaks many languages, but the one he uses best is the language of the heart. Now, decades later, he continues to bring healing to hearts, to relationships, to communities. Whether he's meeting a world leader or a street child, he treats everyone with the same warmth. That's why many believe he is ready for something even bigger. But Tagle has never asked for that. He never campaigns. He never seeks attention. Instead, he says, "If God calls, I will say yes. Until then, I will serve." That answer says everything about who he is today. As the Catholic Church faces new challenges, people are looking for leaders who are honest, kind, and deeply spiritual. Leaders who understand both tradition and modern life. Leaders who don't just preach but live what they believe. Tagle fits that vision perfectly. He brings a new voice, a new way of connecting, a fresh wind in an ancient institution. And maybe, just maybe, he is being prepared for the most important role of all. But no matter what the future holds, one thing is certain: Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle has already made history. He has already changed lives. He has already shown the world that true leadership is not about crowns or thrones, but about love, listening, and serving others. As he turned 76, he finally admits, not with pride, but with deep honesty, that his journey was never about himself. It was always about something bigger, a mission, a calling, a quiet yes to whatever God asks. And in that gentle yes, the world hears something powerful: hope.